This episode is supported in part by our friends on Patreon. To show your support, visit patreon.com/CodeMonkeyPodcast. Welcome to the Code Monkey Podcast, Season 3, Episode 10. In today's episode, China has shipped up a brand new Spacelab. The Rosetta mission snuck in just under the wire with a surprising new discovery, and on the outer regions of our solar system, Pluto is feeling a little gassy. All this and more, I'm Kevin Giese, and with me with absolutely no new stories at all about the EM drive, it's Alex Bragdon.
Hi.
Alex, how are you doing?
I'm squared.
What?
I'm squared, and I still don't have a record player.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I'm so lost. Let me quickly dig into our show notes, because clearly there's something that I'm missing here. No, damn it!
No.
Which is a fake version of Kevin who is making weird sounding voice.
Stop it, fake Kevin. Stop it.
Oh man!
Take back. You said before this podcast started that fake Kevin was your favorite Kevin. Is that still true?
Yes, it's still true. Yeah. So for those who are now, we now have people hearing this both in the Twitch stream, and this will actually make it into the final uploaded podcast. We actually had a false start because I've been having some audio issues. Which the Twitch chat helpfully pointed out. So if you are listening to this after the live stream, please go back in time and thank the live stream participants for giving us a heads up.
If you need help with the time travel, just drop me a message on Twitter at Alex Bragdon.
Yes, Alex is kind of the resident professional in that field.
Time traveler.
Of course, when we got through that intro, and then the thing started playing over, and then we realized Alex's mic was off. So then we go ahead, we fix the mic issue. Of course, it doesn't occur to me to go and fix this whole
well, to be fair, not being able to hear me is sort of like 90% of the podcast. So like, it needed to be fixed.
Exactly. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah. How are you, Kevin?
I am doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I already said. I was asking. I was returning the favor and asking how you were doing.
I answered.
And then you just kind of like went in a loop. Are we going to get stuck in an infinite loop with the podcast, just repeatedly asking how you're doing? Are we in a bad date right now?
This is the quote unquote Midwestern nice thing. I know there was an article of maybe a year or two ago talking about kind of the special brand of Midwestern nice, where yes, there are frequently times where you get, oh, I'm doing pretty well, how are you? And that it happens 4 or 5 times just because everyone's too polite. Like it's the polite thing to do is say, I'm doing well, how are you? Like, and then oh, pretty good. And how about yourself? Oh, not too bad. How have you been? Not bad. How have you been? Oh, I've been doing great. What's your day been like? And like, and it's just, it's very hard to break out of.
Yeah. But we can break out of it because you wanted to talk about the audio.
I did. Yeah. I think I did.
The intro music.
Oh, thank you. I was about to skip over that again. Yes.
Oh man.
Oh my God. So we did. I did at least remember to put credits in the show notes, but we have new music. Because the music that I came up with was bad, and then Alex gave me permission to change it, but only if it was another arrangement of the existing music, which
I can't verify. It sounds nothing like it.
What? I'm going to have to bring it up now while I'm simultaneously trying to talk, which is going to be weird for the listeners. But no, yes. So you gave me permission to come up with an alternative as long as it was an arrangement in the sense of like you have with the Doctor Who theme.
Yes.
And that was your precise example, if I remember correctly.
Yes. We do read the live chat, by the way.
Yes, we do. We do read the live chat for people who are in the live chat. Of course, we try not to necessarily like interrupt in the middle of something, because then the people who aren't in the live chat except for right now, because then it's bad for the people who are not in the live chat. Is this the? Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Oh, that's not the same thing that you play.
No, this is totally what I played.
When?
This was the Code Monkey Podcast rearranged theme.
Yes. No, but you only play that on the version that goes out to like iTunes and stuff then.
What? No, oh, maybe you couldn't hear it. Maybe that was when I was working and getting the stuff set up. No, I'm pretty sure you listened to this. Anyway, the point is, this was...
I've heard that, but not... I didn't. That was the first time tonight that I've heard.
Alex, you have never once listened to our podcast off of iTunes. You're like, I was
yes,
there,
I
it's
have.
fine.
I listen to it all the time. So you think I'd turn up a chance to... or turn down a chance, rather, to listen to my own voice?
Well, so you gave me permission to redesign it, and I gave you that just to show you what a terrible idea that was.
Why? It's not a terrible idea. No, I had it.
It was rough. The point is, I'm not a studio engineer, music mixer type person, and so I struggled with that. And I was like, Alex, please, I want permission to change the music to something good. And by subjecting you to that string and piano arrangement of
okay, I get what you're saying now. Yes, you did show that to me a while ago.
I did manage to procure permission. So the music that you did just hear is actually by a very, very good friend / mentor of mine called Brian Hogan. Not called, named. You don't say people are called. You say people are named, right? People have names. Yes.
Well, most people do. I don't know about you, but we'll see. We'll find out.
Anyway, if you are interested in that type of music and you want to hear more, you can go to bphogan.com/music and listen to more of Brian's stuff. He was very, very kind. This was a demo that he had released, and I was like, hey, dude, this sounds really, really amazing. Can I steal it? Actually, I offered. I was like, I would like to buy the license to use this. And he's like, no, dude, it's fine. Just, as long as you credit me, then you can go ahead and use it. So there will be a link in the show notes. There was a link in the show notes last week, and there will be a link in the show notes in perpetuity. But I just wanted to mention him right now as well. So bphogan.com/music if you're interested in more music like we now have for the intro theme. And I'm excited because it's like a full length thing. It's like a full 6-7 minute thing that I was able to pull up into clips. So now we can use, I've got it set up as part of our pre-show music thing so that we can test when we're waiting to go live.
We can test that all the audio is working before the show starts.
It didn't occur to me to test your audio. I mean, I was like, okay, well, I got to test that. I got to test that this stuff is going to the recording. I got to test that the system stuff's going to the recording. I got to test the things going to the stream. I got to test the system stuff's going to the stream. And the one thing I didn't, and of course, you have a whole separate bit of audio that goes to you. So I'm recording. I'm sending separate. So OBS is recording our video, which is a whole other, and it's recording the audio. It's pulling from audio sources on its own. We're live streaming with XSplit, which is pulling audio all on its own. And then you are getting a custom hacky wired thing that is all of the system audio except for yourself. Yeah, because I didn't want to do I
couldn't talk,
the jammer tool thing. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. And then on top of that, I'm recording all of the stuff externally as the good audio recording on a separate device. And so it's a lot to test out. The one thing that didn't occur to me though was, let's test that when you say stuff, it actually ends up going to the stream. And in fact, this turns out to be an XSplit problem. Oh, and actually thinking about it, say something, Alex.
Saying something.
So OBS was perfectly happy to pick up your audio. For whatever reason, it's XSplit that was just not happy.
No, well, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just the past. And you know what they say about the past?
It's in the past.
Exactly. And you know what's not in the past?
The recent past?
No, the anti-past.
Oh, the anti-past.
The anti-past.
Is this like antipasta?
Yeah, it's actually very delicious.
Actually, what is antipasta? I've seen it printed, but I don't know. Is it like everything except for noodles that's Italian? It's like, we get some cheese and we get some olive oil and we put it in some sausage. It's antipasta.
So antipasta is actually just regular pasta, except all of the up quarks have been replaced with strange quarks.
Wait, are strange quarks a thing?
Yeah. Like strange, charm,
aside
top,
from
bottom,
Ferengi
up,
quarks?
down. Yeah.
Okay. I knew there were top spins and bottom spins and ups and downs.
I don't know. There's a song about this by Hank Green that I really like, but there's no good recording of it.
And you didn't get a copyright clearance, Alex. We got to be careful, man. We're on all these distribution channels
recording
now.
Of the song.
Wow,
there's no copyright on
that. Is offensive. There is no good recording. I'm going to tell Hank you said that.
There's like an acoustic version on his guitar.
If it's acoustic, why? And you made me come up with an acoustic cover of our freaking intro, and then insisted no, piano, it was fine.
The world's greatest instrument.
I will not argue with you on that one. That is absolutely absolutely correct.
Yep. So, acoustic guitar, not up there for me.
I don't know. I like me some acoustic guitar. Well, to be honest, I don't listen to enough music to know.
Do you know what you do listen to, Kevin?
The show notes. I'm assuming you were trying to transition to something, and so there's something to do with stuff that we've got in the show notes.
Why does everything have to be a transition for you? It's like you're trying to transition from the Earth to the space around the Earth.
Speaking of the space around the Earth, Alex.
Wow. See, everything's a transition to you. My eyes are up here, Kevin.
We're such a good team.
Do you know what there isn't an eye in? Space?
Correct. All right, good. All right. No idea where you're going with this, but all right. Because, like the top story that we've got on here, like China, in which there is an eye, and Tiangong, which, yes, there's an eye in that as well. Yes, so I truly is like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the first story, which is, of course, that China has launched
which has an eye in it, Alex.
Yes, but not space.
Okay, true. Well, yeah, so China has launched a replacement Spacelab. Remember that one where people are skeptical? They're like, maybe it's fine. I think we're probably past the point of thinking that China's existing Spacelab is salvageable, because they had intended to hold off on launching this one until the first one came down. Or to have a very short overlap around there.
Right.
So SpaceX.com, or not SpaceX.com, man, SpaceX.com. Huh?
Wow.
Space.com.
SpaceX has kind of sold their domain to try to rebuild some of their assets.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, looking at Elon Musk's, looking at his publicly traded companies, I could...
Anyway, SpaceX.com is a pretty expensive domain these days.
The uncrewed Tiangong 2 spacecraft lifted off today, September 15th, from Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China at 10:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Can we just stop doing the daylight? Just do like ET, Eastern Time, or extraterrestrial. Exactly. 14:04 GMT, 10:04 p.m. local Beijing time. Riding a Long March 2F T2 rocket to orbit. If all goes to plan, the 9.5-ton, 8.6 metric ton Tiangong 2, whose name translates as Heavenly Palace in Mandarin, will soon settle into an orbit about 236 miles, or 380 kilometers, above the Earth and perform a series of initial tests and checkouts, according to China's state-run... Oh, shoot. Xinhua? News agency?
What's the problem, Kevin?
I don't... Well, see, I was super excited because Jiuquan, I know how to pronounce, because it's in The Martian. And I've listened to that audiobook so many damn times. I'm like, Jiuquan. Yeah, Jiuquan. Know exactly what that is. The Spacelab will then climb to an altitude of 244 miles, 393 kilometers, the same height at which China's future space station will operate, and await a mid to late October visit from 2 Chinese astronauts aboard a vessel called Shenzhou 11.
So I have a question.
Yes.
What is the Spacelab climbing?
What?
You said the Spacelab will climb to an altitude.
Yes.
Okay, what's it climbing?
It's climbing the very thin atmosphere.
I don't think that's technically true.
I think it is technically true, Alex. Even geostationary satellites will fall given enough time.
Oh, no. There is a very thin atmosphere, but I don't think it's using the atmosphere to climb. It's not like a big paddles that it's like climbing up the atmosphere on.
All right.
I'm arguing with you about the definition of the word climbing.
Well, I actually want to point out something entirely different really quickly. Okay. And that
Go
is,
right ahead.
if you are a browser user,
okay,
you should install an extension called AutoConvert. AutoConvert is amazing. I have this extension. Basically, what this will do is it watches all these pages, and then when places who should know better, like space.com, say like, oh, it will reach an orbit of 236 miles. Shame on them. It will insert in parentheses 380 kilometers. So every time that there's a stupid unit, it'll put in parentheses a good, smart, useful unit.
It sounds amazing. Does it support links? Because that's the only web browser I use.
It does not support links.
All right. Well,
also, that joke is going to go over everyone except for your and my head.
This is a coding podcast.
This is not a
you
coding
don't know
podcast.
That. It's called the Code Monkey Podcast.
That's true.
Podcast about people who write code for the Lynx web browser, which I don't even think it supports images.
But no, this is but no, especially I imagine it's been particularly helpful for converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, because I still use Fahrenheit and you're saying Celsius a lot more on the internet. But I imagine if you're in the UK, not the UK, but anywhere else that's not the UK, and you use kilometers, but you see like American articles talking about miles everywhere for no justifiable reason, this would actually be very helpful, because then you're like, oh, let's convert this to something meaningful.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You can, and basically you can give it a whole list of like, here are the units that I want to convert, and here are the ones you can set like pages where it's like, don't mess with stuff. Like for me as well, pounds are another unit that I intuitively know, where I don't intuitively know kilograms. I also don't intuitively know stone. I wish that I knew kilograms. I'm never gonna learn. Why stone? Why? They're like the British are. The British, the aristocrats of the universe are like, you know what we should measure weight in?
This random rock I found.
Yes, number of random rocks. Oh, well, Johnny has put on 7 additional rocks. Like, why? Come on, guys. Really?
Yeah. Well, they probably stubbed their toe one morning on a rock, and they're like, I need to pull this rock up and do something productive with it.
Right.
And then that's how the stone was born. I bet that's absolutely what happened, and will be verified by any British person you ask.
Exactly. We should. that could be like a whole podcast in and of itself. Just like interviewing the British. Like, we have questions. Please help us understand.
We should have done that while I was in London.
Oh man,
we missed that opportunity. That ship has metaphorically sailed because I didn't go via ship,
but it has not climbed.
It has not climbed.
To bring us back to the main thrust of the story. Congratulations, China. That's awesome. You're putting. Here's the thing that shocks me though. They're putting a second one up there, and then they're visiting it in mid to late October. That's the month away.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
I mean, as long as the first launch goes well, there's not much to go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, but wow, that is a fast turnaround. It feels like
you can have 2 rockets on different launch pads.
I'm not sure, Alex. I think China's pretty small. I'm not sure they can have more than 1 launch pad.
A month is also a fairly long time. Like, why do you think that's a short time? I don't understand. Your time scales make no sense to me, Kevin.
Well, no, okay, but think about the inflatable habitat on the ISS right now, right?
Yes.
They had it sit there for 3 weeks, not inflated. Just to be like, hey, I wonder if this is a bomb. Like, I wonder if this is going to randomly explode. Then they tried to inflate it, and the idea is they're just going to leave it there for a year, but not go in there because it could be dangerous.
They're going to go in a couple times.
For very short periods, and and they're also depressurizing the area around it, if I remember right. Like, they're going in spacesuits. I don't think they're going in...
Not really? Well, maybe.
I could be wrong, but...
They might be going in spacesuits, but I don't think they're depressurizing it.
I thought, well, there was something, I don't remember. But
they might be sealing off and going in spacesuits in case something goes
but you
wrong.
Get my point, though, is that, like, the idea that, like, oh, we're just going to put this thing up and then, like, it's been a month, it's probably safe. Like, and then you're going to send people, that's awesome, but also,
the
like...
The inflatable habitat had not been tested anywhere
It totally had
at
been
all.
tested. There are Bigelow satellites that have been testing... I mean, they'll never be occupied, but just been sitting around orbiting, being like, "Yep, it's still pressurized. It's fine."
No, but not with like humans,
right?
Like that's what the whole point of this test was, to try it out with humans. Whereas we have spaceships built out of other materials all over the place. Like there's plenty of history for like metal spaceships, which is exactly what this is.
Well, yes.
Like this is not new ground. We've been doing it for 50 years.
Oh man, remember Newgrounds?
60 years. Yes, I do. I invented it.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you for my childhood, Alex.
You're welcome, Kevin. You are welcome.
Still, I mean, this is pretty cool. Now, I was looking, because it's China, you can't find like any information at all.
That's not true. You just can't read it.
Well, no, but even like, I just wanted to see, like, I wanted like one of those cut in half blueprint views. Like, I want to know relatively.
You
like,
wanted the secret internal specifications of the entire spaceship.
I just want to know the interior. That's all.
Giant lasers over here.
Well, no, because this
warp
is
drive over here.
No, because this is a much smaller. I mean, it's significantly smaller than the ISS. I mean, even the planned station that they want to build by the early 20s. Oh man, the 20s. Yeah. It's going to be weird to have to refer to the 20s and go like, which 20s?
You won't say which 20s. You'll just know.
Yeah, it's obviously it's the one with the flappers and the ragtime. Duh.
Yeah, no, because you'll be like, wow, China's going to finish their space shuttle by the mid 20s. Yeah, that's definitely something that was happening in the 1920s.
Right.
Yeah, like
I mean, China had fireworks like 1,000 years before we did, Alex. All right, it wouldn't shock me to discover that they had a space station and were just kind of quiet about it.
Okay. Well, I think they would have like mentioned it by now to be like, "Hey guys, you remember how you thought you were the first people on the moon?" No.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, see, no one will ever say which 20s. No one.
But this does look pretty darn small. I couldn't just based on like the numbers. Basically the maximum diameter is 4.5 meters. And it's like 10 meters long.
I couldn't find a cutout of it, so I don't know.
Yeah, this thing is I couldn't find a cutout, but I'm imagining what meters are, Alex. I'm using my imagination to go, okay, 4 meters. And some of that interior's got to be taken up by stuff.
From my vast experience not playing Katamari Damacy, I can say for a fact that it's probably about 12 meters.
Calamari, what? Something about
Katamari? It's a game where you play as a thing.
Oh, you play as... Oh, right, the one where you play as a thing. I'm sorry, why didn't I...
and you roll up other things. and you make 12-meter diameter lumps of things.
Okay.
It's called Katamari. It's a really good, really relaxing game.
Okay.
You should look it up. You should try it out. It's available for the PS3 and the Nintendo Xbox 367.9 revision 7. Anyway.
All right. Well, anyway, congratulations, China. I do kind of... I don't know how to feel about... On the one hand, I'm like, can't we just, like, make the ISS more China-friendly? You know?
We could, but politics...
Yeah, I know. But seriously, like, we're almost at war with Russia, and we're totally chill with it.
We're not almost at war.
We ride we put our astronauts on their bus to go to the space.
Yeah, which proves we're not almost at war. If that stops, then we're almost at war. Like, oh man, point proven. Point proven.
I don't know.
All right, so I feel like we need to go back and touch up on a story from a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Does it have to do with the EM drive, Alex?
Not directly, unfortunately.
Okay.
You could indirectly.
You will find some indirect way.
Yeah.
So they're asking in the chat why the ISS is not China friendly. It's not really that the ISS is particularly anti-China. I mean, although there is some sort of like, oh no, the successful commies? We must shun them still because Reagan. But I don't know. But for the most part, if I remember, I just basically like there was a consortium of like, hey, who wants in? And by in, I mean who wants to pay for it? And China did not raise their hands, and that's kind of been what's
a sore spot ever since.
The big thing. I mean, part of the big thing with the ISS is that it wasn't just an international thing, but it was also, even though we did have the Apollo-Soyuz mission where Russians and Americans shook hands in space, the ISS was still really kind of seen as we super promise the space race is over between these two former space powers, right? To whatever extent you can really consider them space powers. Whereas China really didn't have a space program at the time. And then when it came to like, hey, who wants to pay for this whole big space program?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that, but I mean, by the time that the International Space Station became a thing, like Russia wasn't even really a space power. Like they had a huge number of setbacks, and like their whole country was like collapsing.
Well, they were
time.
at the time the only ones with a space station. So,
well,
I mean, it was on fire some of the time, but they did have a space station.
yeah, that's true. Skylab. No, Skylab.
Yeah, but Skylab was only occupied for a very short time and then was deorbited.
Sure.
Mir was around when I was born, and Mir stuck around until I think after the first segment of the ISS was up.
So they were the only people who had currently had a space station, and they were perhaps the only ones who had a long-term space station, but they weren't the only ones who'd ever have a space station.
Right, but really, the Skylab was more of a like, hey, let's experiment with what a space station could be like. Whereas Mir was a like, here is a long-term outpost.
True. I don't. Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I mean, America. I mean,
there's a reason that even though like NASA keeps on being like, hey, we got an astronaut that has been in space a really long time. We're still like, but not anywhere close to the longest because Russia's. They're like, oh yeah, we were in space for like 15 years sequentially. It's fine. Like, congratulations on whatever it is. Okay, you were up in space for 16 months. Okay, we'll have a party for you. Whatever. I kept falling in and out of that accent. That was not.
Yeah, you did. my point in bringing all that up though was that Russia's space power wasn't so much a huge thing at the time.
I strongly disagree. And in fact, I think that's largely an American view based on just the fact. Actually, I can't remember where I was talking to a couple of people that basically they were under the impression that Russia won the space race, that America does really trumpet the whole like moon thing, but because Russia was the first to have women in space, the first to get a satellite in space, first man in space, like there was so many additional accomplishments that we kind of don't really consider from the American point of view, that the moon was kind of like the Americans got one, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Going. We should.
If the Russians hadn't have tried to go to the moon. But they blew up like 25 times and ran out of money.
Alex, we destroyed the first Apollo astronauts.
Yeah, that's true.
Apollo 1. Like, not even trying to go to the cockpit. Trying to not even trying to go into space, just trying to sit on the launch pad. We failed. Like mistakes were made on both sides. And both sides also had remarkable accomplishments.
And if history has taught us anything, we haven't really nailed that down, I guess.
Well,
the whole sitting on the launch pad is a fairly difficult thing to do, apparently.
Well, this is why we don't have people sitting with the rockets on the launch pad anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about going and like doing a hippie circle one time, but I guess not.
But anyway, you wanted to follow up on a previous story.
I did want to follow up on a previous story. So we've talked about like the EM drive in the past, and one of the things the EM drive could be used for is going to Mars really quickly.
Okay.
The problem with going to Mars is that Mars doesn't really have an atmosphere.
Right.
And so you can't just like get out and walk around because you'll just suffocate.
It does have an atmosphere. It's a thin atmosphere.
Yeah, I said it doesn't really have an atmosphere. It doesn't have a real American eagle-wearing, eel-supporting atmosphere.
You know what, Alex? Just to spite you, if I ever go to space, it's going to be as a cosmonaut, not an astronaut. Right? I'm Team Russia all the way. No, this does bother me. All of the coverage, they're like, oh, Jeff Williams is coming back today. He's landed. Jeff Williams landed. Hooray, Jeff Williams. I'm like, and the two other cosmonauts from the ISS, which is in theory an international cooperative partnership. You're like, no, this one guy came down on a Soyuz. He didn't have to pilot it. It just came down magically.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, lands in Kazakhstan, which is near Russia, but totally not Russia. And strangely enough, like somebody pulled him out and flew him back to America so he can be home.
President Obama himself pulled him out. Like, Air Force One flew him back. Yes. Team America.
Anyway, yes. Okay, so atmosphere, Force. Yes.
Yeah, so
we don't have good old Murica atmosphere on Mars.
Nope. Couldn't survive. You couldn't bake your good old apple pie in that atmosphere. So there have been plans proposed to the United States Congress to support the White House. It's very, very complicated plans that have unfortunately not met with support, but that we've talked about on this podcast, that have been proposed by like ingenious people, that unfortunately did not meet support of the people, the other people.
Isn't it weird that ingenious as a word seems like it should mean not genius?
I think it's a concatenation of entrepreneur and genius.
No, because entrepreneur is EN, not IN.
Yeah, but I before E except after C, so it all kind of works out.
Alex, you are an ingenious. Keep going.
All right. So apparently we have other planets in the solar system that are in need of new atmospheres. Who knew?
This is not a return to a prior story. What are you talking about?
I was talking about we need to reboot the Martian magnetosphere. The ingenious proposal that we talked about a few podcasts back.
Oh,
and I'm saying someone needs to come along and reboot the Plutonian atmosphere.
Okay. The sort of. That's a stretch. I'll okay.
It is not a stretch.
So from our favorite science news source, Science Alert. There's an article that so now Alex, how's this pronounced? Is it Charon? Is it Karen?
Charon.
Is it Charon?
Charon.
I don't know.
Charon.
I don't know.
Charon.
My Greek/Roman, and I should know which one it is.
Karen.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't know.
We're calling it Kerbal.
All right, fine. So Pluto's moon, Kerbal. Has a weird sort of like cigarette burn stain all over the top of it.
Yep.
And people have been wondering kind of like, how do?
How did that come to be?
Exactly.
Well, I had a giant tomato once and I accidentally lost it. And I think it just flew to Kerbal and blew up. It was a prize-winning tomato, Kevin. I lost the festival that year because I lost that stupid tomato.
So the concern that people have had is that Karen, man,
Kerbal,
Charon, I don't know. Oh
Kerbal.
Man,
I bet Neil deGrasse Tyson has a video on YouTube of him saying it somewhere.
Yes, but I bet he also has mispronounced it sometime as well. Like that's the worst when you're like, all right, I don't know how to pronounce this, and then you find like one person pronouncing it. You're like, all right, good, I've got it, and you trust them, and then you discover no, they were totally off, and you're just mimicking them, and then But you can't really explain that. You can be like, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson said it this way this one time. Like that's not doesn't really fly. How do you pronounce
his name? Then it just kind of recurses. Then you have to look up how do you pronounce Neil deGrasse Tyson.
T-Sone. I don't.
Then you have to. Maybe we'll see what Bill Nye has to say. How do you pronounce his name?
Nye? All right.
Yeah, who knows?
Anyway, being a dwarf planet, Pluto struggles to retain its atmosphere, and when it gets blasted by solar winds, its gravity is too weak to keep all of its gases in place. I sympathize. Every so often, I am too weak to keep all of my gases in place. This means that trails of methane.
Podcast is over.
This means that trails of methane are regularly floating toward Charon, and while Charon does not have enough gravity to hold on to its atmosphere either, it can keep about 2.5% of Pluto's methane suspended because it's freaking cold at the poles. So the idea is that basically, you can think of Pluto as fuel in a fireplace, and smoke is just sort of drifting off of it because of the solar winds being the flame, and Charon is just sort of like stuck in the chimney and is getting soot stains all over it.
How do you pronounce that?
Soot stains?
Yeah, soot. How do you pronounce that?
I just did. We both have.
Oh, okay. Good. Oh, do you think they'll turn into those like soot gremlins from
what?
Yeah, the sweet. I can't say swit.
What are you talking about?
I can't say that word.
I've watched all of the Gremlins movies, but I don't.
No. Hayao Miyazaki is Spirited Away. There's
I haven't seen that in such a long time.
That fuel the fire. Oh man, I bet those are. I bet
high school.
I bet that's the only other life in the universe is just a bunch of soot gremlins running around on top of Kerbal.
It's not Kerbal. It's not Kerbal.
It is. I'm changing the definition of how do you pronounce that word.
This is interesting because there is no methane on Kerbal. But there is methane on Pluto, and Pluto's basically, it's just outgassing.
There's methane on Kerbal.
Well, that's weird. Isn't that?
It's not that weird.
Well, no, it'd basically be like discovering that all of a sudden the moon suddenly has like this big layer of carbon monoxide on top. Oh no, I got something dinged. That's not good.
Yes.
Alex, it's me from the future. Guess what just happened? We had a huge auditory meltdown. I need you now to jump like 6 minutes into the future to continue the rest of the podcast, or else the world will be doomed.
Jeez, Kevin. I don't know. What are you talking about? What's happening?
Oh my God. That's amazing. I've wanted you to do voices for such a long time, and you always refuse. You tried that out. It's golden. That's amazing. All right. Yes. Thank you, dear podcast listeners, for sticking with us. Unfortunately, we had to cut away there for a moment. Well, my machine had a seizure. I don't know. My machine. I have somehow managed to transmit my machine Kevin. Epilepsy. Yes. So, hooray. Anyway, we this is why we have because we've been through so many disasters in the past, Alex. We really have.
We have.
We are recording super secret quadruple redundancy.
So we're prepared. We're prepared, but it's still a bit of a disorientation.
Yes. Because we had to drop the call and my machine completely froze up. But no, really thinking about it. It's pretty cool that basically my apartment could be set on fire and everything here could go away and would still be able to release the audio version. In fact, we'd still be able to release the audio and then we could release a video just with the flat image.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Also, if my machine dies, I still have all of the audio because I'm recording it on an external device. And I did discover that basically our video is iffy. So I'm going to see what I can recover from Twitch.
Yeah, right. So theoretically, that also has an offsite backup, but the quality may not be worth it. We'll find out.
Right. So who knows what just happened, but you have to come with me to a few moments in the future where we can resume the podcast. We were talking about Pluto and it being gassy, but
I think we were towards the end of that.
Yeah, I think Pluto.
I was talking about my giant prize-winning tomato. That's basically the last thing I remember.
Oh, man. And then, Windows made a ding sound, and it was like, oh, boy, this is going to end badly. Whenever Windows wants to interrupt you for anything that Windows wants to do, it's a sign that your life is going downhill.
I mean, you do realize, the giant tomato that I grew, do you know what that is?
No.
So it's a giant tomato that I threw at planets, the moon of Pluto, called Kevin. They're not Kerbal now. It's transferring organic matter from one planet to another with a giant tomato.
You're giving me so much about making everything a transition. But according to futurism.com, the scientists behind the Rosetta report, report that the probe has found complex, solid organic matter in the dust particles of the comet, the kind we've never expected to find. This is the one, by the way, with the 2 Twitter accounts. That space mission. The one with the little lander who's like, I'm really tired all the time, and the other one is like, keep going, you can do it. And then, oh God, you're dead, but I snapped a photo of your corpse. That's how space works now, is just Twitter bots interacting with each other. Previous missions could not collect these solid organic molecules since the missions were merely flybys. Ultimately, the crafts moved too fast. They need some copy editors, disrupting the particles too much for proper characterization, which I guess is a word for collectation. Our analysis reveals carbon in far more complex form than expected, remarked Hervé Cotin, one of the authors of the paper, in a statement. It is so complex we can't even give it a proper formula or a name. So I'm guessing this is like cyclohydroethene hydrohene methane.
It's called Kevin the molecule.
Oh, dude, that'd be brilliant.
Kevin, did you remember to eat all of your hydrazine today?
Oh my, what?
Yeah, no. Carbon bonded to hydrazine, Kevin.
No, that is a terrible idea.
No, it is the best idea anyone's ever had.
Wow, you are trying to murder me on the podcast. This is incitement to violence, Alex. Freedom of speech does not apply here.
No. I'm not you. You're totally irrelevant to this whole discussion. I'm saying we should name the molecule of carbon bonded to hydrazine Kevin. That's the name of the new molecule. It's the best possible molecule name ever. What are you doing right now? Are you forcing me to talk like a lot? So I'm just gonna have to keep talking. All right. So we'll also name the third planet from the sun Kevin, and
you told me I wasn't relevant
Kevin.
to this discussion. So yeah.
No, I mean I can make you not relevant. I can just talk the whole podcast. I'll just have a discussion with myself. So yeah, they found sort of complex life on
I do sort of worry about that because when I go and edit stuff and then I realize, oh man, I talk a lot. I really try. I just want people to know. I really try to be like, Alex, what do you think?
Yes.
But then I end up, and then I'm like, and here's something I think. That's the problem. Because it's usually how it goes. I say, Alex, so what do you think about this? Because I think, and then I just explain what I think. And you're like, all right, so moving on to the next topic. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Let's talk about this next topic. So, no. Alex, what do you think about this?
Lemons. Anyway, the point of the matter... I don't know. So, the organic molecules on another planet is kind of expected. Like, carbon is a thing. Now, why are you moving around? Stop moving around. If the organic molecules...
I was cropped wrong.
Sure. If the organic molecules on these other planets were, like, reproducing and, like, doing things, that would be amazing. But,
right.
I don't know.
Well, this is just that they found complex hydrocarbons.
Right.
This isn't like, oh, look, we found random critters. What are the ones I'm thinking of? The water bears. Why am I blanking out on this? Tardigrades. Oh my God! Thank you. Oh man.
You could just remember TARDIS. It's the first word of the.
It's not like, oh, we found some tardigrades. They've now harvested the Philae lander, used it for parts.
They built a time machine and a Death Star, which is kind of worrying. Like, we're probably doomed. But, whatever. They'll survive.
Tardigrades are amazing.
I want to, like, take one of my hairs and, like, feed it to a tardigrade, so that way I will just live forever.
Yeah, no. We've been over this. That was actually not accurate science. Alex is harkening back to a story that we covered more than half a year ago.
Yeah.
Where it was thought that actually tardigrades, who are these tiny little remarkable creatures that can live pretty much anywhere. They're extremophiles. And mainly they're theoretically they can live for very extended periods of time because they can dehydrate very, very heavily. So they can go into pretty much complete hibernation and then rehydrate and live and walk around.
And the story I was calling back to was that if you feed a tardigrade some of your hair, it will become a perfect clone of you.
No,
and then it'll grow up in a hyper accelerated time state, so that way you can harvest like your brain. So if you accidentally have your brain damaged, you can use a tardigrade to regrow a new brain.
There was a story that we talked about on this podcast where
about growing new brains.
It was thought that partially because of tardigrades' ability to completely dehydrate and then reconstitute themselves, that was an explanation for their DNA having an awful lot more of kind of strands of bacteria DNA in it. That it was there was a lot more gene crossover, and this is true of even humans. You'll like find like, oh look, there's some like E. coli DNA as part of our regular chromosomes. That's very weird. And it just, because occasionally happens. You're like, it's like you're Xeroxing and there's a speck of dust that gets in the Xerox machine and all of a sudden that becomes part of the thing.
Wasn't there a movie about that with like a fly and some human or something?
Man, who could even remember? Who knows?
I don't.
But actually it was determined it was called Tardigate, which is really clever.
Why does everything have to be a gate?
Because
like, this isn't Stargate.
Right, but if you're going to give... Anyway. But no, it was discovered that actually the what they were measuring was actually bacteria. The samples that they were doing the gene sequencing on were contaminated. And so, this whole tardigrades have a much more diverse gene set. Maybe that's why they're huge extremophiles. And maybe the way that they do that is because they dehydrate, and then when they're reconstituting, basically they imbibe a bunch of stuff from their surroundings, and then that ends up being, nope. It's just like somebody sneezed on the slides.
So I'd like to point out that I was not calling back to that story at all. I'd totally forgotten about that. I was just making a parody of an episode of Star Trek Enterprise I saw last night.
Oh. Well, I haven't seen most of the Star Trek Enterprise yet.
I know. I don't really blame you.
I still need to
The theme song gets even worse in season 2.
It's not a theme song. It's an original song that already exists. That makes me angry.
No, they rewrote it for season 3, so it now is its own song.
Well, anyway, we should talk about this one story because why not? Adblock now sells ads.
You're right. Yeah. I sold them a bunch of ads, so you can now see ads for Alex's underwater potato farm on your favorite website.
Well, so this has become a bit of a scandal, which confuses me because I was always under the impression that Adblock already did this. That basically, if you were selling ads that were not super aggressive, like used Flash or had crazy pop-ups and stuff, that you could pay a license to Adblock to basically have them whitelist your stuff. And so I'm kind of surprised that people are going like, oh, now it's a problem.
So we should talk about the news story. So recently, as in 2 days ago now, I think, there was a news article or an announcement from Adblock saying that if you've installed Adblocker, which is a plugin for most popular browsers that goes ahead and replaces all of the advertisements on a web page with theoretically nothing, so that way it reduces the load on your machine and you don't have to sit and watch ads. So this company that makes Adblock had announced that they've entered in with a new deal with a sort of an advertising agency to not just not display ads, but in that new blank space that's created on the webpage to display different ads. That would be less aggressive and less likely to bog down your computer and less annoying. So you could now not just totally remove the ads, but you'd be replacing the ads with a slightly better experience. The problem is, of course, that the websites who have to pay all the money to host things would get none of that money, and Adblock would get all of that money.
Are you sure about that?
That
this is not being what I'm seeing here, according to this article on The Verge, publishers will get to keep 80% of all ad revenue from marketplace ads, with the remaining 20% being divided between various other parties involved with serving the ads. Adblock Plus will receive 6% of the total revenue.
Oh, was this sort of an opt-in thing? That's part of the story I didn't hear.
Well, that is the kind of the issue with a lot of things. That basically, if you as the publisher don't opt into something like this,
then keep all of the money.
Well, because what else are they going to do? I mean, I suppose you could also offer an option to consumers to be like, hey, on sites that have opted in with us, show ads, otherwise show blanks. But presumably you just want to set up some sort of standard experience for people. And so you just say, turn on, the light ads, don't block ads, or block all ads are the kind of the three options.
Yeah.
But it does look like there is a pretty favorable revenue share toward the publishers.
If they've opted in.
If they've opted in. The one thing, though, is that ads that aren't obnoxious don't pay very much.
Yeah.
So friendly, like user-friendly, like not page-destroying, not virus including ads, those don't pay very well. And so publishers getting 80% of that ad versus the $10 ad that they may be able to, $10 CPM ad that they may be able to sell themselves is a very different business. It's also just a matter of control, that the publisher doesn't get to choose placement, one would assume, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, all of that's very true. The article I had read was very much from the context of, well, like, you can guarantee that 99% of the web isn't going to sign up to be one of those people. So for like 99% of the ads, Adblock just gets all the money.
Well, so that is a question. And it becomes an issue of, so big publishers are still going to get some of the money, but if, Adblock probably is not going to have some big automated system, whereas like, I'm going to start up a small little blog with an ad display or whatever. Like, I'm not, if I ever decided to put a little 300 by 250 ad or something on cheerskevin.com, it's probably not going to be the case that I'm like going to reach out to Adblock and be like, hey, can you please add me to your whitelist? It's probably not the case that they'd even be able to process me, right? Because I'm just not dealing with enough traffic. And so, basically the pennies that I would make from that if people weren't using AdBlock, basically AdBlock is just going to keep the entirety of.
I really wish I could put an ad on alexbragman.com. That'd be pretty cool. But sadly, Twitter won't let me.
Oh yeah, you got to set up that redirect to something else, man.
Why? I like it redirecting to Twitter. Go to alexbragman.com.
Well, I brought up this story because I like I want to talk about a different option. So the chat is mentioning that uBlock Origin is way better than AdBlock Plus, and I absolutely have to agree with that. Yes, use uBlock Origin everywhere if you can. It is amazing.
Yeah.
But one other thing that I use on my mobile device a lot, and I've used on my desktop on occasion, is Brave, which is a browser.
It's very courageous.
It is.
Has courage.
Exactly. It is EarPod compatible. AirPod, I don't know. Whatever.
EarPod.
I don't...
The Ear Podcast.
I don't know. I think someone
podcast.
forgot to tell Apple, though, that the part that they use for everything is the I, not the pod part. It's
No, they don't. They haven't released a new product with the I prefix since the iPad.
Yeah, but let's not make... Oh, man. I don't want to just see everything just suffixed with pod.
Why not?
Anyway.
The Mac Pod.
Exactly. The Mac Pro Pod. Anyway, Mac Pod Pro.
The P Pod.
Oh, man. So Brave is a browser that basically has... it's a fork off of Firefox with ad blocking enabled by default, kind of built into the browser. But what they've done is they've actually released... they've done a lot to try and make things incredibly lightweight and to add some more... to be a little more secure than a lot of kind of contemporary browsers, because it is a bit of conflict of interest with things like Google Chrome, because Google is also, the company that does all the ads.
Yeah, they make almost all of their revenue off of ads.
And in Google's defense, it does seem like, man, the Chrome team is very good about security, and they're not building in stuff to make ads more friendly.
Oh yeah.
The teams are very separate, and there's not a big conflict of interest going on, though there could be, and arguably should be, from this is a publicly traded company perspective. And so eventually could be. But anyway, so Brave is an open source browser. It's available, and it's AdBlock by default. You can disable that, but they've also added a third option, which I'm interested in. And basically, you can set a monthly contribution amount, and Brave will simply track your traffic and then distribute that revenue to the publishers whose sites you visit.
Right.
That's another one where the publishers have to opt in, because otherwise, how do you even know to? Right.
Presumably they have like an About Us page with like an address. So you just mail them a penny.
Although thinking about it, I believe Brave actually does the same thing with ads that is being talked about with AdBlock Plus here. That basically you can also enable an ads light experience through Brave, and they will basically take the entirety of that revenue and not do it on a per publisher basis, but use whatever money that is gained via that and distribute it with the publishers as well. Although I think also... there's not, and I'm trying to remember, there's some part of that where they also, if you are looking at ads, they will give you, the viewer of the ads, a portion of the revenue earned from viewing those ads, which I think is really, really clever.
Well, the thing that came to mind that I had just now, and I don't really remember what it was called, but they've had a thing like that in the past for charity purposes. So you could download like an extension for your browser that would replace all the ads with its own ads, and they would give like most of the money to a charity.
Yes.
So this is sort of more of just a more selfish version of that. I would say. Well,
yeah. I did throw a link for people in the chat in the chat about Brave's policies, and basically, so yeah, I'm seeing here, looking at their split, that Brave, if you are looking at ads, so they will replace ads with light ads in the same way that AdBlock Plus is proposing to do now. 55% of it goes to the publishers, so nothing close to the 80% that AdBlock is offering. 15% goes to the ad partners, 15% goes to Brave, and then 15% goes to the actual users who saw the ads. Which I think that's actually kind of, if I got a small amount of money for actually having looked at the ads, it certainly makes it more palatable, I think, in terms of getting people to opt in.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think it's kind of a whole like crazy thing. I'm not surprised Adblock's doing this, but I'm not like, I don't know. I don't want to look at ads, so I just use uBlock and I don't let it display ads.
The thing, I mean, Adblock has been kind of the noisy one in the bunch, and so a lot of advertisers are very quick to sort of jump down and demonize it. Not to say that they're that they're not necessarily, not to say they're questionable or not, but they're a very easy target. I mean, they're the ones with the name Adblock, so
yeah. I mean, they've got the highest SEO of all of them, certainly.
I mean, for a long time they have had this whole policy of like, hey, if you, the publisher, will go ahead and promise to audit your ads, or let us audit your ads and say, no, you can't, you need to have the ads not in the middle of the content. They can be like in a sidebar, they can be above, they can be below, but they can't be interspersed throughout the content where it can be distracting. Yeah, basically, they're trying to be the ad police as far as the things that they're going to let through their extension.
Yeah.
They've had that policy, and I'm guessing that what this is, well, nobody's opted in. Right? None of the publishers are agreeing to those terms. And so this is an option to say, yeah, all right, if you're not going to do it, well, we've already got all your ads blocked. We can at least try and give you some revenue from it. If people are willing to see ads of a better experience. And part of the really optimistic side of me would love to see this actually take off and do well. It won't, because there's been a huge smear campaign. But I'd love to see it be the case that like, oh, everybody installs Adblock and everybody happily lets the 2 or 3 like very lightweight, perfectly calm ads run. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the industry has to go, oh man, I guess we've got to make not terrible ads now. I guess that's what the market is forcing us to do. That'd be pretty cool.
So remember like about a year ago when the iPhone updated and allowed you to install ad blockers and everyone thought it was be the end of the internet and then nothing happened?
Yes.
So I feel like it's another one of those situations where nothing's going to happen. Like,
no, the problem is it's not that nothing happens. It's that people who don't use Adblock or have to work at companies where they sometimes have to disable their Adblock temporarily have a worse ad experience because advertisers get angrier and angrier because their market share is shrinking and shrinking as more people opt into.
It's a gradual change. It's just it is change over time.
It is, but it's changing in a weird direction. Basically, it's splitting into people who are just perfectly happy to switch over to. I mean, you're seeing more and more people switch to an Adblock society, but the result is that those who remain are getting a much worse experience than they would have if everybody had stayed without Adblock on.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate, and I think it's short-sighted. But who knows what's going to happen?
I know something that's going to happen.
What is going to happen?
In a week, we'll be recording this podcast in the fall. Did you have a good summer, Kevin?
I won't know yet until it's over.
Do you think you're going to have a good summer?
I suspect so. Gonna go
to the beach tomorrow?
Go to the beach, hang out with my friends, go swimming. I don't think I've been swimming in like 7 years.
Wow. That's a long time.
I hope I don't
also,
even know
it's a very
how.
Specific amount of time.
It was an estimate. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking, well, before New York and then plus 2 years, I think, ish.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know.
You were in New York for 5 years?
I was in New York for about 5 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What happened to it? Disappeared?
I have no idea.
Never to be seen again.
Completely missing.
Gone into the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Well, Alex, I would love to congratulate you on us reaching our first year of podcasting.
But we haven't yet.
Exactly.